Yo, it's me, the Avatar Fanatic, and today I'm gonna be talking about a topic one of my subscribers suggested in my previous videos. So, like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed the video and if you guys enjoy some of my other content on my channel. Today, we'll be talking about Sozin's Comet Ozai versus Unavatu, which is Unalak with the Dark Avatar, if you guys don't know, like the ship name. So, we will go over, Sozin's Comet Ozai, some of his strengths and weaknesses, vice versa with Unavatu, and we will make our determination on who would win in a battle based on my analysis. So, first, let's go over Ozai. Sozin's Comet Ozai. I've just referred to Ozai in the video. So, Ozai is, really strong. And he has a lot of things going for him, especially in Sozin's Comet. Now, we really haven't seen him fight anywhere apart from Sozin's Comet. So, that means we're basically basing him solely on, him and Sozin's Comet. And I think that that's a good measure, and it really doesn't matter for this video because he's from Sozin. That's the only time he fights, so that's all we can really judge him off of. So let's list some of Ozai's strengths. So first, he is very in shape. He's pretty energy efficient, actually, surprisingly for the amount of fire he uses, and he has a lot of power, like a lot of power in this fire blast. I mean, you could see it in some instances, like when he destroyed basically miles of forests and stuff. And like, that is so impressive. Like, who would expect someone to take out that amount of forest? You know, and when he was fighting Aang, before Aang went into the Avatar state, he looked like he had the upper hand. Now, that could be due to, Aang only being 12 years old and not at peak ability, which is why I think, Ozai is, a little bit overrated in some instances. Aang wasn't even at his peak. You know, he had many things that, weren't going for him as an Aang. He didn't master, any of the other three bending, maybe water and earth, but definitely not fire. Um, and I think Ozai is a little bit overrated in that regard. But what I will say is he did really do well against Aang, and he had Aang on the defensive the whole time. So the fact that even at the end he was going and he was having a lot of energy and was on attack until Aang went into the Avatar state. Now, what I will say is, you can make this argument that Ozai is energy efficient. Now, I would push back because, um, I would push back on that argument because, you get extra energy from the sun, when it's Sozin's Comet. So, if he was really that energy efficient, I don't think, I think Sozin's Comet helped him there. Now, what I will say is a pushback to that is that, I guess he felt confident using that much energy and using, the little, like, you know, triangular, like, fire blast that went into air, or, taking out that whole forest. So I think that, a lot of the time, you know, his energy meter can't really be measured, but from what we have seen, it's pretty good. So another thing I want to go over is, some of his weaknesses that I think you can point to. So, things with Ozai that I see a small bit of weaknesses too is, I think a little bit he's kind of predictable with how he goes because he's so ruthless with everything he does. And I think at times people can kind of see what's coming. And I think Aang defended really well throughout the whole battle. And it's like, I didn't really see Aang having much trouble, defending until, Ozai had him on the ropes. Now, what I will say is that Sozin's Comet Ozai fares really well in 1v1s because, he went up the ranks in, the Fire Nation through 1v1s, through Agni Kai's, and, you know, that's what made him, Fire Lord pretty much. He went up the rankings through these 1v1s, and if we're putting, Ozai in the scenario of 1v1s and facing Unavatu, it seems like he would have a very good shot. Now, I do want to branch over to Unavatu. So Unavatu is, Unalaq and Vatu combined, and it's the Dark Avatar. And one thing I do notice with Unavatu is that he's really strong. I mean, Unalaq is that he's really strong even without the Avatar. So you see him fight, Korra's dad. I think him and Korra's dad were brothers, right? If I'm not getting that wrong, they were both extremely strong. You could see instances where him and Zuko were fighting Zahir's whole team, and the only reason they lost were Eska and Edna, or whatever their names were. The two girl twins, the girl and the guy. Is that they faltered a little bit, but he was really strong, and Unalaq beat his brother narrowly, very narrowly, but he did alone, like without all of this. So it's safe to say, like, Ozai, with his bending versus Unalaq, Ozai would win that. But with Dark Avatar, it takes a lot into account. Just as Ozai had Aang on the ropes during their fight, Unavatu, sorry, had Korra on the ropes in their fight. So what that would mean is, Korra would Korra actually pretty much lost to Unavatu, had all of her powers taken away and lost Rava and stuff. I think, yeah, she lost Rava, and she had to do like this thing with, thing with finding herself a little bit. And one thing I will say is, I'm surprised that Unavatu actually did that well. And when he formed into the big avatar, like the little, like, huge, is because he was winning against Korra. So when Korra actually went like big, leading up after Jinora helped her a little bit, right? That's when he faltered, and he faltered through a very unlikely circumstance, which I must find. Now, what I will say is, he's very good at waterbending, and he's probably a master, would be my guess. I don't know if that's confirmed in the show or not. I can't confirm or deny that, but I'd assume that he is. And that's what I would take from that. Now, what I would gather from other types of bending is that he's not a master, because he never firebended, and he never he never firebended, he never earthbended, he never airbended before. Now, what that would also mean is that he wasn't a master at it. Now, Aang was definitely better than Unalaq at bending. It's just once Unavatu got really strong, it got really, really strong. And so that bending ability was like magnetized and like really blown out, when his water bending was really about the same level as, well, Aang had a lot better bending in the other areas where he wasn't a master than Unavatu had. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is that, Ozai, Sozin's Comet Ozai, fared really well against basically an all mastered up except fire bending, virtually. I mean, it's a stretch for earth bending and water bending, but maybe. So it's like Ozai fared really well against that Aang, even though he was 12 and not in his physical prime and all this stuff, right? And he fared really well, while Unavatu fared really well against a Korra who was pretty much mastered in 3 elements, in airbending, in airbending she wasn't, and all the other 3 she was. So what that would mean is, the Dark Avatar fared better against a person who mastered 3 elements than one who only mastered 1 but was really good at 3. Now, I will add that Aang was probably a little bit more, polished in firebending, even though he learned it in season 3 and Korra started at season 1 with airbending. She really never got to, like, give enough evidence to me, at least, that she was better at airbending at the time she fought Unavatu than when Aang fought Ozai. So basically, what it comes down to here is, who would who would win in the circumstance of a battle. Now, I'd say I'd go for Sozan's Comet Ozai here, and the reason why I would mention that is, um, you know, Ozai had a lot more. I feel like more power in his firebending ability than Unavatu could ever generate with any of its waterbending ability or any of its. I'd say waterbending primarily because Unalaq is a waterbender, and they have to master the elements just as someone like Aang would have had to master the elements, and he was just a beginner in that. So we're measuring a beginner versus basically a master, even though he has 3 more elements. And what I will also say is that, Korra, I think objectively, I mean, I could be wrong, maybe for some Korra fanboys or fangirls or whatever, but I'd say pretty much everyone can say that Korra is weaker than Aang, and Ozai seemed to have fared better at Aang than, Unalaq did versus, Korra, even though I believe he did beat her, and then Korra just came back on some unlikely stuff, So, overall, I'd say, um, Ozai would beat Unavatu. What I will also say is that they both had, like, this weird thing, and the similarity is, like, their intent. Unalaq was so thirsty for power, just as Ozai was. Which I found interesting, because, I don't think they should have, like, made Unalaq that same type of villain as Ozai was, even though they did put a little bit more of an arc behind Unalaq than they did, to Ozai, because, Ozai was just portrayed as a bad guy from the start, while Unalaq was portrayed as a good guy who became really bad. So, overall, I think in bending, I think Ozai superior to Unalaq. In agility and all this stuff, Ozai is superior to Unavatu, and in things like knowing more elements, sure, Unavatu got Ozai there, but what's the purpose of those elements when you can't really use them because you don't know how to use them? So, another thing I wanna add is, like, I think it was a little bit weird how um, how Unavatu just knew how to use all this bending, how Unalaq knew how to use bending, even though there's certain techniques that go into the bending. And I don't think that, Unavatu had all those down pat. And overall, I think, Sozan's Comet Ozai is just stronger, plain out stronger. And it's pretty evident when he's just, put throughout the show as just, the strongest thing anyone can ever imagine. When, Unalaq wasn't really portrayed as that. He, barely beat, his brother in a battle. Barely. Like, I'm talking razor thin margins. And, just adding the Dark Avatar label really just only magnified his, water bending rather than, his other bend. So I'd say Sozan's Comet Ozai would take this. Tell me what you guys would think in the comments down below. Tell me anything I might have, glossed over, maybe didn't define enough, so I can reply to you in the comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Check out my other videos. I have a lot of good videos, from ATLA and Korra, so there's a lot of variety in my videos. Subscribe again. And this is me, the Avatar Fanatic, out.